Cincinnati quarterback Joe Burrow finds himself in some elite company in the early part of his sophomore season. Burrow, alongside Pat Mahomes, is the only quarterbacks to throw multiple touchdown passes in every game so far this season. His 14 TDs already more than he had in 10 games last season, and he can tie Carson Palmer's record for consecutive multi-TD games with the franchise against the Ravens on Sunday afternoon, a game you can see on CBS and Paramount+. And when you break down the how and the why behind the early season success for Burrow and the Bengals, a big part of it comes down to his success against man coverage. He's tops in the league in completion percentage and yards per attempt versus man, and he's second in passer rating. And he'll see man this week against Baltimore. They line up in that coverage 39% of the time, fourth most in the NFL. And for more on Burrow and the Bengals as they try to Jamar Chase down, their fifth win of the season, we now welcome in NFL senior insider Jason La Canfora. JLC, Cincy with a shot at the division lead with a win here. These are the kinds of games that they drafted Joe Burrow for. So what kind of a measuring stick game is this for Burrow and the Bengals?
I think it's more of a measuring stick for their defense than it is the offense. They've made major gains on the defensive side of the ball. Last year, you go back to the games the Ravens played against the Bengals, you could pretty much put Baltimore down for 250 yards rushing at the start, and I think they approached 400 yards on the ground in the game in Cincinnati. Ditto for the year before and the year before. Lamar Jackson in that run game has run roughshod over their defense. It's a much improved defense. I think they'll show better on Sunday. As for Burrow, yeah, you put the numbers up there, what he does against man coverage. When you're playing man coverage, what are you generally doing? You're blitzing. He's top 5 in the league against the blitz, 33 for 44, 486 yards. He's averaging over 11 yards per attempt. And the Ravens do traditionally blitz more than any team in the league, but you could go back to their game against Buffalo in the playoffs last year and look at the splits for what was going on with Josh Allen at that time, versus man, versus zone. They zoned it up against Josh Allen. He didn't do a whole lot. Buffalo won the game. It was because Baltimore couldn't snap the football. I think you'll see Wink sit back, Wink Martindale, the Ravens defensive coordinator. I think he will run a lot of zone looks at Burrow. Burrow's a below league average passer against zone defenses. I think he'll put Marlon Humphrey on Chase with a little bit of help. They've got a very deep secondary. Guys like Jimmy Smith, who could play free safety, could play slot corner, could play outside corner. And I think they'll challenge Joe Burrow that way and be judicious about when they bring those defensive back blitzes that really had Justin Herbert seeing ghosts last weekend.
And for the Ravens, of course, a win here is going to give them a 2-game lead over the Bengals in the division. All right, let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. They're coming off a big win Monday night against the Bills, which you mentioned. The one thing we know now for certain is there is no stopping Derrick Henry. I mean, go ahead, load the box, do your best. He's going to run over you. I mean, JLC, are we sleeping on just how dominant Derrick Henry's become in this league?
I think we may be a little bit, just because it's not that sexy to run the ball, right? It's a pass-happy league, and every year there's 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, and it's all about what do they do and how do they succeed, and we get caught up in the passing and quarterback thing. And look, I do think at a certain point he's going to hit the wall, and when he hits the wall may win, because that's how it goes with running backs, and the tread that they're putting on his tires is really unprecedented for this era of football. So I do worry about at some point, especially as they keep playing. Now we're playing a 17-game season, and this is probably a playoff team on top of it. Those extra games have a way of weighing you down, but to this point, he's been Superman. He's been impervious to all that. When you put 11 at the line of scrimmage to stop the run, or 10 or 9 or whatever, you're in trouble, because there's no second level and there's no third level. And we saw that with some of the ways Buffalo sold out to stop him. It still led to 70, 80-yard runs, because if he hits that first hole, you're not catching him if he's untouched. A unique weapon. They fall behind in games and just keep running the ball because they get so many explosive plays in the run game. It's remarkable, and yeah, he probably doesn't get enough credit.
Topped out at 21.8 miles per hour on that 76-yard run versus the Bills. No ball carrier has hit that speed this season. So not only has he got size, he's got that speed. He's going to mow you down. All right, normally when we see the Lions and the Rams on the schedule, we're like, okay. But this time around, there's a little bit of intrigue here, JLC, because the 2 quarterbacks involved, of course, facing their former teams from very different positions. Matthew Stafford is in the MVP conversation. Jared Goff is not. He's being told he needs to step up more by his new coach. How surprised are you by just how bad it's been so far for Goff?
Not surprised. He's going from elite play calling and elite scheming to a staff there, under Anthony Lynn, where it's more about the run game, and It's not particularly innovative from the passing game whatsoever. They've suffered injuries to the offensive line, including the center. That's devastating. As much as the coordinator is all about the run game, they don't get the ball in DeAndre Swift's hands nearly enough, and that should be Goff's best friend. They don't have receivers who can win on the outside. They've got a good tight end who teams are bracketing and taking away, and there's not much else there. Goff is a limited quarterback. He's the ultimate system guy. If the system's not good, if the play calling's not elite, and the talent around him is not good, you're in trouble. But this is an interesting game because there's a little bit of a professional wrestling element to this, right? Like Sean McVay didn't do the conference call with Detroit reporters because he didn't want to answer a whole bunch of questions about how he let Jared Goff go. And Stafford, I believe, declined to talk to Detroit reporters. And we've seen Jared Goff go public with, hey, it wasn't real cool how they, let me know I was no longer their guy a couple years after going to the Super Bowl. But this is a cutthroat business. And the Rams made a determination around the middle of last year, and it was the correct determination that they had gone as far as they were going to go with Jared Goff, and duplicating that was going to be nearly impossible, and they needed to upgrade at the quarterback position. They were forthright and aggressive in doing that, and Matt Stafford played like an MVP candidate.
Before we say goodbye, the Houston Chronicle setting the NFL rumor mill spinning yesterday with a report about a pending trade between the Texans and the Miami Dolphins for Deshaun Watson. JLC, what are you hearing about a potential deal here?
I'm old enough to remember 3 weeks ago, when now there's all these reports. It's really cooking, and there's all these teams in it. And no, all that had changed was we're now about a month from the trade deadline, and boy, Houston's really kind of sick of paying this guy to do nothing, and they know that after November 2nd, they're stuck with him through the winter into the next league year before they could officially consummate a trade. And even then, it might not happen because of the widespread allegations of sexual assault and sexual misconduct against Watson. So what changed this week? Well, let me look at my watch. We're 2 weeks. We're less than 2 weeks out. We're not panicked or anything. We're not freaking out. But, hey, Washington's on it. No, they're not. Oh, Denver likes him too. No, they don't. So, look, Miami has continued the dialogue. I've reported here in print on the NFL Today that Stephen Ross, the owner, wants Deshaun Watson, and they are willing to do something within reason to make that happen. To this point, the sides have not been able to agree on what fair compensation is. The Texans have softened their stance a little bit, but not to the point where Miami's ready to do this. There's still the very real specter that the league jumps in once it looks like Deshaun Watson is going from a healthy scratch who's barely in the building to a face of the franchise quarterback, that they step in and say, we're going to put him on the commissioner's exempt list until we know more. So, again, despite all that, could something happen by November 2nd? Yeah. If it does, is it most likely to be Miami? Yes. Are these sides on the precipice of a trade right now? No.
Dose of reality from our Jason La Canfora. Great stuff as always, JLC, our senior NFL insider, joining us to break down some of the latest storylines in the NFL. And for more on the latest in the league, be sure to check out the Pick Six podcast with Will Brinson. On the latest episode, Will is joined by Brady Quinn. They discuss the legacy of Russell Wilson in Seattle. They break down divisional futures as well, where you can find value in the market. Download and follow the Pick Six podcast wherever you get your podcast audio.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.